We are now in the month of June, which means we are also in the midst of Pride Month. And Pride Month, in case you didn't know, it runs from June 1st until June 30th, just in case you've been living under a rock. And this is the opportunity for the mainstream and the companies and all of these public entities to come out and show their support for gay pride, for LGBTQIA. Don't know if I got all those right, but yeah, so companies, all kinds of companies, they will change their logos into rainbow logos and they will wear them loud and proud. And that's what they've done last year, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that. And it seems like, I don't even know when, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, was when they really started to ramp it up in terms of just getting more mainstream attention from large companies. And last year, it was probably I would say maybe the loudest year, possibly the year before, but there was definitely a lot of attention that Pride Month was being given last year. But for some reason this year, it's been kind of radio silent, which I thought was kind of strange. And there's certain rumors and assumptions and theories as to why that is. I mean, my belief is that it's probably because President Trump won the election. And not only that, but he won the popular majority. And perhaps that might signal to these mainstream companies that Pride Month might not be the best play at the moment. Maybe we should back off a little bit because possibly the public may not really be appreciating it as much as we thought they would be. I don't know. That's just my assumption. I haven't read anything conclusively to determine that. It's just an assumption I have. And I first noticed by doing just a simple Google search, and it's on google.com. You can do this for yourself. Top stories, at least in my region. I know Google can vary depending on where you are in the country or in the world, apparently. Plus, Google, from what I've heard, if you're signed in like I am, it kind of curtails its search results to fit what Google thinks that you want to see. Not sure how true that really is. But anyway, if you could look it up for yourself, have at it. But anyway, all I did was Google Pride Month companies. That's it. Just pure, plain simple. So on CNN, it says big brands are pulling back on Pride merchandise and events this year. That was yesterday, 12 hours ago. On Popular Information, 19 companies pulling back their support for Pride. On Forbes, Pride Month kicks off with companies pulling back on DEI. That's also another thing that I forgot about. NBC News, companies pull funding support from Pride events, fearing backlash. This came from Pink News, all of the companies who've released Pride Month 2025. I'll check that out here in a minute. Let's see, from WWD, Pride Month 2025 collections from companies that give supporting Pride collections. Might give that one a check out too. On Facebook, through Breitbart, corporations and major brands have been dropping LGBTQ. Forbes, Pride Month 2025. Organizers face uncertain future. And these 14 corporations have stopped sponsoring LGBTQ+. That's on advocate.com. Companies acknowledging Pride Month in 2025. So there's actually a few articles here that are pointing to possible entities that are still supporting LGBTQ for Pride Month. So they've released Pride Month 2025 collections despite Trump's DEI crackdown. So they're blaming Trump's DEI for the reason for Pride, even though DEI has nothing to do with Pride at all. It has nothing to do with being gay. DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nowhere in there doesn't mention being gay or your sexuality in any way. So I don't really understand where they're, trying to link that together, because DEI, the people who are anti-DEI, which is probably the general public because people prefer a meritocracy and not a DEI-driven agenda. Basically, you should be getting the job based on your merit, your skills, your talent, as opposed to how you look, whether if you're a man or a woman, or if you're old or young, or black or white. But anyway, so this article here from the Pink News, every year, almost without fail, most major companies, including Target, release a range of Pride Month merchandise, usually donating at least some of the proceeds from that collection to an LGBTQ charity. So let's see. Recently, NYC Pride announced that it had lost multiple major sponsors, which obviously it sounds like they're blaming DEI. I don't really think that's the case. I think, in my opinion, I think it's simply, and I know it might sound too simple, but I think it's really that simple that Trump won the presidency, and they saw that as, I don't know if I'd use the word opportunity, but they saw that win. Most importantly, the majority of the people who voted, they voted for Trump, basically meaning they voted for Republican and not Democrat. And I think this is just one way that they're using that as a way to kind of pull things back, creep into the shadows a little bit. And full disclosure, I have no problem with people being gay or lesbian or transgender or whatever it is you want to do. I'm all about live and let live. It's none of my fucking business in any way, shape, or form what you do behind closed doors or who you date or who you decide to hitch your wagon to. Doesn't have anything to do with me. You know, it's supposed to be a free country that we live in, right? But if you start going after children, that's what I got a problem with. And that's what most people in the public have a problem with, which they were really playing with fire last year with those tuck-friendly swimsuits, bathing suits that Target was selling for, it was something like 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds that were girls' bathing suits, but it had a little extra pocket down in the crotch region that the boy, or I mean girl, can put her you-know-what into. So that's when people really started to have a problem, when they started going after children. Stay away from children. Once you're 18, you can do whatever you want. Anyway, so Diesel, that's no surprise to me. Converse, and I'll check them on X and see if they're also signaling their support for LGBTQ on X. MAC Cosmetics, I have no clue who they are. I do know who Apple is. I do have them on my list. I actually have a list of companies, and I'm going to check on X to see if their X profile shows their support for LGBTQ. And I have a feeling that fewer are going to show their support than they did last year, at least my opinion. So there was Apple, Puma, Skull Candy, Hollister, Abercrombie & Fitch, that's no surprise to me. JanSport, Target, no surprise, but yeah, we'll see what their X profile looks like. Okay, so that's it. That's the main ones that they shared on this one. So let me just go back. I will go back to this because there were a couple of companies on there I didn't think about, but yeah, I've got quite a few on a list that I came up with on my own. Pride Month collections from companies that give, let's see here, WWD. Companies that give back to the LGBTQIA+ community. Clothing, shoes, and more products with purpose. Okay, so Levi. That is on my list, actually. Levi. Converse is another company. Betsy Johnson. So these are products that they're releasing for this year. Yeah, part of their 2025 collection. So my main question is are they showing these products on their website's homepage? Or do you have to really dig to find them? You know what I mean? Are they displaying Pride Month loud and proud in their company? Or are they hiding it in a dark corner somewhere? Because last year, Target, they put all of their merchandise right in the very front of the store. As soon as you walked in the front doors, all of their Pride merchandise was bam, right there, front and center. As soon as you walk in, you had to physically walk around all the merchandise to get into the rest of the store. Then, of course, the backlash happened last year. You could read all about it from, the boycott and everything that occurred. And they pulled, it was something like 90 or over 90% of their Pride merchandise they yanked off of store shelves pretty much overnight. And the ones that they did leave in the stores, they put everything back in the back corner of the store. So anyway, let's see. Pink Eyewear's Love Wins Pride collection. Don't know what Pink Eyewear, or Pear Eyewear, not Pink, Pear Eyewear. Drink Gems, Love is Love Pride collection. Knock Around. I have no idea who the hell all these people are. Puma. All right. I Buy Direct. A lot of eyewear. So Abercrombie. Okay, so it's Hollister. I don't think they were on the other list. Don't know what that is. JanSport. Okay. Target, of course. All right. So they're probably going to pretty much show the same things. You know what? Real quick, before I forget, let me just go to Target.com and see. Is it going to be on their homepage? Because it sure as hell was last year. Interesting. It's not. Why isn't the Target logo in rainbow color? Why not? This is very strange. It said on the website that Target was very proudly supporting LGBTQ this year. It did say that. It actually did. Especially this one. This one, it was very clear that Target was on the bandwagon. It's mentioned above, despite its wider DEI rollback, Target has released a 2025 Pride merch collection, although they've come in for criticism online. Only available online rather than in stores. Yeah, it's because there was a massive boycott last year, and I believe their stock price even tanked last year when that happened. Those tuck-friendly bathing suits, man. You got to stay away from kids. Keep all the nonsense away from the kids. And by nonsense, I mean sexualizing. Just keep all that stuff away. You know, do what you want to do. Just don't get children involved. You know, it's like that one of those sayings that I've heard is that you know, the gay people and lesbians and many, if not most progressives for that matter in general, you know, the Democrat variety, they don't have kids or they can't have their own kids. So they've got to get your kids. That's why they're, I'm not saying they as in all of them. Oh, okay, here we go. Pride fines are here. And I mean, like, we're not talking all people. I'm just saying the more activist types, the ones that are just really pushing the agenda, especially in public schools. And yeah, anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, that's not what this video is for anyway. But okay, so it does have a section on the website. It's buried way down. Like you had to scroll quite a bit to get down there. So, but they are showing Pride on Target's website. Although last year, not only would it have been right here at the very top of the website, it probably would have had its own tab here. I'm sure you could probably check out the Wayback Machine and see if it's actually there. Let me see if I can do that. Would not surprise me. Let's see if I can do this. It's been a long time since I've used the Wayback Machine, actually. Let me see if I can still use it. See if I still know how to use it. All right, Target.com. Let's check out 2024. Let's see here. June. I'll just go with today's date. Let's just go here in the middle of the afternoon. Let's see what this brings up. So this should be Target's homepage on June 3rd of 2024. And we'll see what it brings up here. Might take a second. All right, here we go. Deals, new featured. Anything? No? All right. Yep, not seeing it. So let's check out. Let me go back. Let me just check out June the 1st. Let's see if they just opened up the month of June with. Let's see. I'd rather just kind of stick to the middle of the day. Not that it matters. I doubt the website's really going to change. Not in a single day, but. All right, I'll wait for that to come up. No. I'm actually kind of surprised. That it wasn't front and center. Okay, so I stand corrected. So, yeah, and this was Target's website, June 1st of 2024. I figured it. Well, see, there's Celebrate Pride with colorful finds. So it was definitely higher up on the homepage for sure. But it wasn't as high up as I would have expected it to be last year. Now in 2023, also probably may have possibly been the case by searching, let's see, 2023. Let me do the same thing, June 1st. Let's see, we'll try that. I'll see what that brings up. And then I'll move on to the next thing I want to show and go through. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Yep. Not really Pride inside and out. There it is. Pretty much the same place that it was in 2024. Again, this is in 2023. So anyway, all right. So let's go back here. So I'm going to go on here on X, and I got a list of companies that I want to check out and see if they are showing any support for Pride Month. And most of these companies absolutely did support Pride Month last year to the extent where they actually changed their logo on their profile. They changed their logo from its normal look to a rainbow. So everybody knows the Coca-Cola logo. the says Coca-Cola with the red circle, and instead of it being all red, it was just in a rainbow color. And Apple did it. There were all kinds of companies that were doing that last year. But apparently there aren't so many doing that this year. So I figured we can start going down this list now. It's kind of a long list, but I'm going to start with some obvious ones. Let's start with some Starbucks. See what this might bring up here. Let's see. Hopefully I don't have to click on people every time. Okay, so yeah, they're not showing anything. Nope. Wait, Starbucks hasn't posted. What the hell does that mean? Starbucks, they're not, well, yeah, it says they have over 200,000 posts. It's kind of strange. All right. I don't know if maybe they, I don't even know. I don't even know what to think about that. Let's see. Let's go with the next one. We'll go with Target, another easy one. Let's see if that brings up anything. It's not showing anything there. At least not as far as the logo. They didn't change the logo. They definitely did last year. I wonder why it's showing that. What the hell's going on with my freaking X? I don't know. Let me just try to open up Chrome. I wonder if something's jacked up with Brave. Brave, it's a great browser to use. It's awesome, especially when it comes to ad blocking. But sometimes it can get a little squirrely. I don't know why the hell it does that, but sometimes it'll show like errors or something. But I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with just the browser in general. Maybe it has to do with my internet connection. We've had some weather today. It was actually just thunderstorming about a half hour ago. So maybe that might have something to do with the behavior of my internet. So anyway, didn't see much on Target. I'm mainly looking for the logo to see if they've changed the logo. So let's see about Bud Light. I would be really surprised if they've... See, what the hell's going on here, man? What the fuck? This is fucking weird. Let me just take a quick look here. Yeah, I'm connected. Everything's fine. What the hell? This is weird. All right. Let me just move on. Yeah, see, the logo was not changed at all. Bid Light. All right, let's try Bud Light and see what that might bring up here. Nope, hasn't changed. Nope, looks the same. No change. Let's try Borders. See what Borders might be, if anything. Borders, maybe Borders Books. I mean, it's mainly what I'm trying to look for here. Borders. Did they go out of business? Maybe I'm getting a little too old school there. Let's just try Barnes and Noble. Try Barnes and Noble and see what that might bring up. Barnes and Noble. Spring into reading. That has not changed at all. Okay. Okay, well now the tweets are coming up. That's really weird. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Here, let me get rid of these. I should not be of any problem whatsoever, but... All right, here's another big one. What about Disney? Let's see what Disney might bring up here. You think they're going to change it? I'm thinking not. Nope. Now they got Lilo and Stitch up here. So nothing on the Disney front. Let's check out Bank of America. I believe they had theirs changed last year. We'll see if Bank of America, I'll just go to their official. Nope, no change. And I'm trying to glance at their bio too to see if maybe they say something like we support Pride Month or whatever. And I think even some companies even had that rainbow flag here next to their logo as well. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think they did. Let's try Activision. Let's see if they got any changes this year. So far, nothing. I'd go as far as to say that most of them would have already, we would have already seen 3 or 4 by now, for sure, if this was last year. Let's try Microsoft. Microsoft definitely had theirs last year. They had their logo in rainbow colors, I believe. Nope, nothing from Microsoft. Yeah, man, they're getting real quiet this year. Let's check out Apple. That's one of the big players in the LGBTQ support space. Not seeing it. Oh. What is WWDC? WWDC. That's in rainbow colors. I'm not familiar with what that is, though. Join us on June 9th. What is this? I don't know if it has... anything to do with Pride or not, though. I'm guessing it doesn't. No. See, can you tell that I know nothing about Apple? I don't have an iPhone. I've never had an iPhone, never had a Mac, never had anything Apple once in my life. Never been an Apple fan. Okay, well, no go there. So Apple, they are radio silent. Now, Google's their homepage actually did have support for Pride. At least on June 1st it did. Yeah, we're not seeing anything on there. Let me just check and see. No, the logo's plain. Although I am using Brave for that one. Let me see. No, it's just plain. Okay. It was changed on June 1st. On June 1st, they actually had the whole Pride thing going on. I know there's a place where you can go and you can check the history of their logos because almost every day, they change it to something else. And yeah, believe it or not, they are still doing that. Let's check out Meta. See if Meta's made any changes. Damn, dude, everybody is quiet. Everybody's quiet. Nobody is showing their support for Pride Month this year so far. Let's go with, let's see, we already did that one. Let's try Amazon. See if anything from Amazon. No, still nothing, man. Where's all the pride? Where's all the support? I mean, okay, here's a real big one. Kohl's. Kohl's was all about Pride last year. That one I definitely know was all about Pride last year. Oh, no. I don't think that quite passes the Pride test. No. Nope. Not seeing anything. Yeah, that's old, dude. Look at this. They haven't posted anything since 2022. Is that real? Is that really true? Okay, June 2nd. Yeah. Whatever. Oh, it looks like they're just answering to complaints. People complaining about Kohl's terrible service. Let's try Macy's. Let's see if Macy's has anything here. Radio silence again. Nothing that I see. 2024. That's just so bizarre. That doesn't make any sense to me. They got 154,000 posts. I don't know, man. Maybe something going on with my internet. Let's try Nordstrom. I got some others. It's a sizable list. I'd say I'm about halfway done with this list here. Absolutely nothing. Nothing for Pride. No support from Nordstrom. Anyone who's LGBTQ and you are very involved and you are of the activist variety, scratch Nordstrom off of your list. You might as well boycott them too. And it looks like the same's going to go for Gap. So all of these companies, it seems that they have turned their back on Pride. For the whole month of Pride Month, the Gap, nothing. Nothing on the Pride front coming from Gap either. Let's try out Costco. I've never been a Costco shopper, but it's a big company, so I thought maybe they might show their support. Seems like they're all in lockstep. They're all turning their back. They have no Pride this year. I mean, everybody was on the bandwagon. Let's see. Here's another big one. What about Michael's? They were all about Pride last year. Let's see. Maybe there isn't an apostrophe. I'm assuming there was, but maybe not. No, Michael's. Huh, it's a post from me. Maybe they're not even on X. I don't know. Michael's. Well, I don't want to waste too much time on this. Michael's, it's just one place, so we'll just pass and assume that they are not on the bandwagon this year. That they have turned their back on Pride Month. Now, if Kamala Harris won, do you think this would all be lit up in rainbow colors? I don't know. I would assume probably. I mean, look, dude, last year they had the entire White House in rainbow colors. The whole White House, they had rainbow flags hanging off the balconies and everything. They had a whole Pride Fest going on to the point where there were women taking their tops off on the White House lawn. You can go see it for yourself. That actually happened. Something tells me that Joe Biden's probably not all that much into Pride. But come on, who was really running the show? If you know what I mean. Anyway, that's not for this video, but let's try PetSmart. Let's see if PetSmart might have any support for LGBTQ folks. I mean, I'm almost starting to feel bad. You know, it's kind of a downer for everyone that's been very heavily into the LGBTQ movement over the last few years, because they've been getting an overwhelming amount of support over the last few years, especially last year and the year before. Apparently Five Below was another one who had support last year. Not 100% on that, but I think I actually did read that somewhere that they had support for Pride last year. Not seeing anything. Same thing, man. Yeah, April 3rd. That just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, it's all about the logos. I'm not going to go into their history. I just want to see. This one, maybe not. Probably not, but we'll see. Doubt it. Nope, doesn't look like Cisco's playing ball with LGBTQ this year. Let's try. Oh, this one's probably a slam dunk. BMW. What about it, Germany? Are they going to show their support for Pride this year? They didn't vote for Trump, so not seeing anything. No. Wow, even foreign companies that have been in support of Pride Month are even quiet this year. Let's try Mercedes. Mercedes, they might be one of the lone wolves. Oh, I think we might have found one. I think we found one. Now that looks like Pride to me. So I will take that as a win on the Mercedes-Benz front. So Mercedes-Benz, they are supporting Pride this month. I'm not seeing a post exactly with, yeah. But, I mean, look, I haven't been on Mercedes X page at all, or their profile. So, I mean, for all I know, it's been like that for a month. But I'm going to go off on a whim and say that they recently changed it for Pride Month. So, yeah, you can mark down Mercedes-Benz. They are in support of Pride Month. I'm surprised that BMW wasn't, if Mercedes is. What about Audi? Or Volkswagen? I bet Volkswagen probably is. Nope, nothing from Audi. Let's see about Volkswagen. No. No. Nope. Nothing from them. Where was I? Let's try Lenovo. Probably not. But I don't know. Could surprise you. I couldn't remember if Lenovo was an American company or not. What about... How about HP? HP, I think, had support last year for Pride, if I remember right, but maybe not. Let's take a look here. Nope. Nothing to see there. Let's go to... Let's check out Dell. Dell. Aren't they a UK company or an Irish company or something? Not totally sure there, but nope, they're not showing any support for LGBTQ either. Well, how about IBM? I know IBM's American. What does that stand for? International Business Machines or something like that? Can't remember. Nothing. Out of New York. New York. Okay, let's do Paramount. Let's start heading into Hollywood, man. Let's see. I mean, if anybody's got support for Pride, it's got to be Hollywood, right? I mean, Hollywood, they'll push back against the whole corporate machine, won't they? Or will they join in lockstep? Looks like they are not showing their support. That honestly did surprise me. I was pretty sure that they would have. Possibly Sony. Maybe Sony might have some support. Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't look like it. Okay, well, we'll move on. Nothing from Sony. Sorry, y'all. How about Vogue? What about Vogue? They've got to have Pride support this month. I mean, they've got it, right? I mean, it's freaking Vogue. No, the official Twitter of Vogue. I mean, they're so woke, they still refer to X as Twitter. But nothing. Even Vogue, dude. Wow. Well, that surprised me. Let's check out Visa. Visa was on the Pride bandwagon. Surely. but not this year. They are quiet as well. Jump over here to MasterCard. Uh-oh. Is he getting pissed at me? Ah, shit. Maybe it's all quiet on the MasterCard front. Here we go. Yep, all quiet on the MasterCard front. Nothing from MasterCard. Let's see. I don't have very many more. Let's try Coca-Cola. Let's see if we can get... They're not showing anything. No, nothing. It's just so weird that these tweets are so damn old. It's definitely something to do with on my end. It's just strange. That's never happened. It's weird as hell. Or maybe X is having issues today. Oh, wait. All right, hold on. I think I saw something. What was it? PepsiCo? Maybe that's something hinting toward pride. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that really falls under the realm of pride. I don't think. So, this one's kind of a reach, but General Electric, not seeing anything here. Kind of mind-blowing, man. Mercedes is the only one so far. That's it. How about Uber? You know, Uber is on the top 50 list for richest companies in America. That blew my mind when I heard that the other day. That Uber's like they've only been around like what, 15 years or so, give or take, and they're already in the top 50 most or wealthiest companies in America. But nothing from Uber, even Uber. So anybody who is hardcore into Pride Month to the point where you're willing to boycott companies who are throwing away Pride Month as if they don't even care anymore, you might as well just delete Uber off your phone because they apparently don't care about Pride Month anymore. But how about Adobe? Adobe's another massive company. I believe Adobe's also on the top 50 list. But even Adobe is not showing support either? Come on, guys. What the hell? Nothing from Adobe either. Good grief. If anything, Boeing. Of course, Boeing. They've got to be here, but nothing, man. Look at this. Nothing. Nothing at all. Not even their smaller profiles are even showing not an inkling of support. Nothing whatsoever. John Deere. John Deere's gotten woke recently, haven't they? I think I read that somewhere. They were trying to push a DEI agenda, but no. Not that, in my opinion, that DEI really has much to do with pride. I mean, I really don't think so. All right, what about Levi? Levi's, and still nothing. Even out of San Francisco, and not even Levi's is showing support for pride. Let me see. I think the very, very last one that I had that I actually skipped over when it looked like it was going to start glitching out on me is Oracle, but no, I don't think they're going to show anything either. See, look at that, man. Well, there you have it. Nothing. They are radio silent. Just quiet as hell over on X. And again, like I said, if you went on X last year, everybody had support. Every single one of those logos. I mean, I can't exactly say every single one of them because I didn't definitively look at every one last year. But I would make a Vegas bet that at least 80% of the companies that I just looked up had full support for Pride. And a lot of them probably even had the little rainbow flag logo or whatever you call it, emoji next to their name, which, yeah, they're not really showing much. But here, let me go over to CNN. CNN's probably the best one to look at as far as reporting on this problem that these companies are having with their lack of support for Pride this year. It's just so weird. So this is out of CNN Business. For the last several years, Pride Month was a splashy marketing event for big brands. Stores adorned windows with rainbow flags, displayed LGBTQ-themed t-shirts and coffee mugs at their entrances. They even changed their logos on social media accounts, which, yep, they're not doing that now, and spotlighted donations to LGBTQ rights groups. But this Pride Month, many retail chains and brands are going quiet. Companies are treading lightly, avoiding prominent campaigns and visible public support. 39% say they plan to scale back public Pride Month engagements this year. I think it's a hair over 39%. I mean, the rate that I was looking at, it's more like 98%. According to a survey of more than 200 corporate executives by Gravity Research, a risk management advisory. This includes sponsoring Pride events, posting supportive messages of LGBTQ rights on social media, and selling Pride-themed merchandise. Well, there's still some out there. We saw a handful of big companies that are at least selling merchandise, but they're not splashing it up at the top of their page. At least Target wasn't. Oh, let's see. Consumer brands are wary of provoking right-wing customers and activists. I mean, there's not really a whole hell of a lot of right-wing activists. I mean, if there's one thing that the right is not very good at doing, it's organizing. Not really. No, the right wing, they tend to protest with their wallets, not really with signs and looting and rioting and getting loud and angry with an outrage mob and all that. Anyway, and they fear reprisals from President Donald Trump's administration. I highly doubt that. They're using that as an excuse. There's not really a whole lot that the Trump administration can do if a company like Macy's or Apple or Meta or Disney, if they change their logo to a rainbow logo and they say we support Pride Month, how the hell are they going to retaliate over that? That doesn't make any sense. That's freedom of expression. I mean, they're private companies. I mean, they're publicly traded, but anyway, federal agencies have threatened to investigate companies with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Many businesses are tightening their advertising spending due to economic uncertainty over Trump's tariffs, but businesses cited pressure from the Trump administration as the primary reason for changing their Pride Month approach, according to the survey. So I guess technically, I suppose you could make an argument that the I for inclusion would probably, I guess, include the whole pride thing into DEI. So, now that I think about it, just off the top of my head, I was just kind of having trouble connecting those two specifically, Pride Month with DEI specifically. But I mean, I guess you could make an argument for that. So maybe I might retract that original statement. Quote, "It's clear that the administration and their supporters are driving the change," end quote, said Luke Hardig, the president of Gravity Research. Quote, "Companies are under increasing pressure not to engage and speak out on issues," end quote. The subdued approach marks a shift for businesses, which used to turn the annual June celebration of LGBTQ Americans into a branded holiday. It's part of a broader pivot in corporate America, with many businesses scrapping some of their programs to advance diversity in the workplace under pressure from the Trump administration and Republican activists. It's all the right wing's fault. It doesn't have anything to do with, the majority who voted for Trump and for Republicans. Advocates for gay, lesbian, and transgender Americans say the Trump administration's opposition makes it harder for businesses to compete, innovate, and attract talent. DEI isn't about talent. It's about inclusion. It's about diversity. They want to hire based on things like skin color or more women in the workplace, for example, things like that. Doesn't have to do with talent. No, that would be more of the meritocracy area, which they're not pushing for with DEI. Anyway, they also warned that companies risk losing business by downplaying support for their growing number of gay, lesbian, and transgender customers and workers. I mean, no, I don't agree with that. I mean, I think most people, they don't have a problem. Like, if you're gay and you work for a company, there's nobody that I know of who would quit buying stuff from any company just because they have gay people that work there. No, the problem is when you start advertising it so loudly that you start gearing it toward children. That's when people started having a problem with it. And that's what they really should scale back from. The proportion of America's adults who identify as LGBTQ has risen to 9.3% of the population. By weaponizing federal agencies like the EEOC and the Justice Department to intimidate companies that support LGBTQ inclusion, this administration is creating an anti-business and anti-worker atmosphere. I would like to see an example of that, but said Eric Blome, the vice president of corporate citizenship at the Human Rights Campaign Foundation. Many businesses have stopped participating in the Human Rights Campaign scorecard on corporate policies and benefits for LGBTQ employees due to backlash. Companies that show up only when it's convenient or backtrack the moment there's political pressure risk losing trust and credibility. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people were pissed that they were targeting children. Like Bud Light is a good example. The oh hell, what was that dude's name? Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan Mulvaney did that whole thing where Bud Light paid him, I don't even know what it was, like $1 million or something crazy like that. They paid him money to do some commercial spot for was it TikTok? I don't know. He did an ad where he was sitting in a bathtub and he had cans of Bud Light in front of him, and he was talking about how he's been on his road to womanhood for a year and he's about to celebrate his 1-year transition into being a woman, and Bud Light is here to support me, and it was that whole song and dance. Well, the problem people had was the fact that Dylan Mulvaney's target audience, like the vast majority of people, it's something like 80 or 90% of people who watch Dylan Mulvaney's content are people aged 13 to 17 years old. So just the fact that he was promoting Bud Light was fucked up enough, because his target audience they're not old enough to drink, first of all. And his whole transition into a woman, targeting 13 to 17-year-olds, that's what people had a problem with when it came to Bud Light. And that's why a lot of people ended up boycotting Bud Light, because it was quite obvious. So, and then Target, I already gave like the most obvious example where they were making tuck-friendly bathing suits for very, very, very small children, hinting at their support for transitioning your boy into a girl as young as 2 years old or 1 year old. And that is something that the public at large does not support. That is not cool, Target. So anyway, I mean, it's here. It's in the description if you want to read the rest of this article. So if you want to get into it, you're more than welcome to. CNN Business, like I showed earlier, there's others that are talking about pulling back on Pride Month, and based on all those searches that I did on X, it looks to be that way. I mean, it looks like a lot of companies, they're scaling back. And not only are they scaling back, they're stepping away from it altogether. They're just completely quiet. And that honestly kind of took me by surprise. I mean, there were at least a few, like Apple, for instance. I mean, I figured they would have been all about it. Or what was another one? Kohl's would have been one it is one that took me by surprise. But looks like Mercedes, that's the lone wolf. So anybody who is so invested in Pride Month to the point where you're willing to boycott companies who are stripping their support of your movement from their homepages and their profile pages and their logos and everything, well, you got a long list of companies to boycott at this point, except for Mercedes. You can go buy a Mercedes because it appears to me, at least, that they are supporting Pride Month. So anyway, that's all I got. See you later.